Hey there, I'm Kristen and I am a grower near Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. It's a zone 3 growing zone with about 110 days of a growing season. It's mid-June and this is my garden tour. So behind me are these gorgeous French lilacs. We have another variety of lilac. I don't know what it's actually called. In my mind, it's just like the classic basic lilac that everyone has. And that is pretty much finished blooming. There are still, some blooms on it, but nothing that I would want to sell. There's actually a surprising amount to see in mid-June here. And because I have done like a frost-proof flower garden, we are so close to having some serious blooms. So let me show you what's all here. First up is the perennial garden, and this is actually year 3 for this perennial garden. Not every single perennial is in its 3rd year, but enough of them are that it's going to finally start to be a little bit exciting. And please forgive the fact that not everything is weeded. We still have tons of quack grass. I'm only about half done the job, but the way things work on this flower farm, if I waited until everything was perfect, you would never see a YouTube video. Over here we have lilies, liatris, some yarrow, the iris, just a basic iris, but beautiful all the same. A peony, probably not going to bloom this year. My lovely Morden blush rose. We have daisies, more liatris over here. Someday I will get this poor set repainted, but our grapes are doing super well. We finally got just sort of a temporary trellis up for them. Maybe they'll even get grapes this year. And tulips are basically done. And now we're just waiting for summer perennials. This is probably not the most exciting thing to look at, but it's just nice to be able to have this area where there's no weedy grass. Oh, hello, Mama. How you doing? You always got to join me in the garden. Over in the greenhouse, I have my sweet little helper as always. Most of the plants have headed out the door, but there's a few late successions of things that I still have going. This spot in the flower farm is probably the most exciting of all. Let me show you. Look at these gorgeous anemones. I just love this spot so much, although I'm gonna have to pause the tour quickly and quickly pick them before they blow open too much. I think this year the big difference is that I finally got the timing perfect. We had a lot of rain, a lot of cool weather, so it was weather that anemones liked, and I actually managed to get the shade cloth on them when the shade cloth needed to be put on. So yay, anemones! Look how gorgeous these are. Oh man, I have subscriber bouquets that are going out next week and I will put these in the cooler. They're gonna be so happy with these. My subscribers have actually never had anemones in their bouquets. I just haven't had good enough luck with them, so I'm super pumped. The bed of ranunculus is also super close to blooming. This one's probably my closest. And then there's a pink one over here. I feel like, again, because of the weather and the timing and everything, like I actually got things right this year. Over here is one of my frost-proof flower garden beds. So first we have some Russian tarragon. This is a perennial. A little bit of early stalk. Some of the chickens have gotten at it, unfortunately. In between here, I think this is baby's breath. I don't exactly remember what I put between the rows, but it's coming up nicely. We have some lovely volunteer lettuce. This one's from Hortonova. Snapdragons, these are like so close to blooming. Oh, and the mama cat again, always has to visit. And then over here, I think it's either Saponaria or Forget-Me-Not. I forget which one. Oh, it would be funny if it was Forget-Me-Not. Sweet peas are looking really good. And then, let's see. yeah, that's everything in this bed. So this bed has some heavy protection on it because I do have some vegetables growing in here that chickens tend to like. So I need to keep chickens out of this bed. So similar to the other bed, we have the row of stock, but then, so we have, say, stock here, but then I have carrots here, I think this was arugula, and over on this side, it's hard to see the spinach. I think that's mostly done. This is some Swiss chard that I'll probably move some of it. And then over here are some radishes. And even though these are looking pretty overgrown, we actually did get some decent radishes. So over on this side, we have some snapdragons. Those are the snapdragons here. And then this part, we have some larkspur. So I've actually never successfully really grown larkspur, maybe 1 or 2 stems, so I'm very excited about this crop as well. And last year I tried saving my old zinnias from seed, and I messed it up because I had really terrible germination. But here are my 5, 6 seedlings, so we'll see how it goes. So if you're thinking to yourself, like, Kristen, how do you have this much in your garden this early and you live in zone 3? Basically, I'm using the principles of cool flowers, and then I've figured out what exactly the timings are and when to put them out and stuff like that for my area. And so I call this method the frost-proof flower garden method, and you can check out the link in the description. If you are in like zones 2 to zones 5, this is very, very helpful information to have, and this could be you next June. So well, even though that area is looking nice, not everywhere is quite as exciting. Over in the high tunnel, it's looking kind of sketchy actually, but I'll still show you. So this is the high tunnel. We're not 100% done planting, and the irrigation needs to be fixed. And oh, I see some naughty animal relieved us of these tomatoes, and it wasn't even my chickens. My chickens weren't out yesterday. I started maybe about half of these tomatoes, and we've just ended up having to purchase some because things just aren't working out. Over here I have my Floret celosia, which I think is actually loving life in here, and I really messed up my peppers this year, so all of these peppers are purchased, but they're looking pretty happy. One nice thing about my tomatoes being pulled out is you can see I've tried blossom and branches method about putting the wool around them, and I feel like it's really helping with our sandy soil. Like, things are actually looking pretty darn healthy. We just had a whole bunch of rain, so I think over here in like the main flower farm, even though things were struggling quite a bit, I think that'll hopefully turn around now. So these snapdragons were planted around the same time as the ones in the raised beds, but they're just not doing as well. I find with cool flowers in cold climates, like, you really need the raised beds to make things work better. This area is super frustrating because I thought my feverfew would come back, because it did last year, but this year there has been nothing, so I have to plant something else there. And then over here, my yarrow is very happy, and like, we might even get some blooms soon. This section over here is probably one of the better ones of the garden. My straw flowers did super well this year. I got my glads out not super early, but just like right on time, so they're quite happy. The celosia outside is definitely not as happy as the stuff in the high tunnel, but hopefully it'll rebound. Over here, you know, I really lost a lot of my status. I started so much, it looked so good, and I probably had almost 2 rows worth, and I've ended up with half a row, so it's really frustrating. Even though we haven't had the greatest weather for dahlias, they seem to be doing well, and like the head start that I gave them seemed to have really paid off, so I'm hoping it's finally a good dahlia year. So over here in the back of the garden, I'm finally starting to build up my perennials, and over here this is my peony row, which I lovingly refer to as my drunken peony row. I was not actually drunk when I planted this row, but it's so crooked, and then I tried to fix it in a different year, and I think I just made it worse. So I'm gonna have to move things around a little, which is not ideal for peonies, but you know what, it just is what it is. Over here is the newest section of the garden, and this is where all of the pumpkins are going. I have a few little vines that'll hopefully grow up this trellis. One's a moonflower, one's a morning glory. This area all needs like the chicken compost on it. Otherwise, it's not going to grow very well. You know, we really struggle with our soil. But we've been working at it for around 4 years or so, 5 years. Maybe we're on year 5 out here. And it's getting better, like slowly but surely. And I think we're learning sort of the tricks to like make it get better a little bit faster. If you're wondering what the tricks are, probably the biggest one is to like use your leaves in the fall and put that on. We do sort of a modified no-till method. There's like very slight tilling with this one machine that I like to use, but otherwise like the soil structure's integrity is kept pretty decently. And then we really found that like the chicken manure, taking all of their bedding and putting that over the worst area really helps, like give it a good jump start. We use Epsy a lot. It's a local product to Saskatchewan. Probably another similar thing you could use is like Marifil. I think that's more widely available. Compost teas, I do a super lazy compost tea. So what I do is when it is going to rain, I put all of my Rubbermaid totes by my greenhouse and I collect as much water as possible. And then in each thing of water, I throw in a shovel of manure. I did this by accident last year. I just had manure left in a tub and it was by the greenhouse and the water came in, and after about 4 days it was good, and so I watered it on my plants, but I only had enough water for half of the plants. And so when, you know, a few weeks later you saw a difference between the stuff that you put the water on and the stuff that didn't have that compost tea on, and it was actually quite striking. So I don't know if this is like the proper or the best way to do compost tea. I'm sure there's better methods and people smarter than me can tell you about it, but if you just want like an easy, low stress, low effort way to make compost tea, just throw a scoop of manure that has no herbicides in it, because that's very important, into a container, get some rainwater on it, leave it for 4 days, boom, cheater compost tea. So thanks for spending time with me. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.